Welcome to the taping number 7 of the history of Grand Prairie. And this date is January the 13th, 1986. And we are very pleased to have with us today a real, what we call, old-timer, and she admits to that. Pat Florence, welcome to It Happened in Grand Prairie. We're delighted to welcome you to our show, my dear.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Wonderful. Now, Pat, you have been very important to the past of Grand Prairie, and you're still important to the everyday happenings in that you're into many activities here in Grand Prairie, Texas. But we'd like for you to maybe take us on a little thanks for the memory tour of your life and the life of your family, and especially to include your late husband, Cy Paul Florence. And would maybe you look out into your camera and tell us, first of all, a little bit about yourself and your parents, and then we'll get to Cy Paul in a few minutes, telling us when you were born, when you came to Grand Prairie, and some of the important historical data that we'd like to have.
Well, I was born in Alpharetta, Texas in 1906, March the 6th.
Okay.
My father was Robert Bolin, William Robert Bolin.
And you spell that B-O-W-L-I-N?
B-O-L-L-I-N.
B-O-L-L-I-N, okay.
And my mother was Lula Jane Wilcoxon Bolin.
Mm-hmm. All right, how many children did they have down near the Alpharetta?
4.
All right, can you name the 4 children?
My brother, W.J. Bolin, and my sister, Robbie Louise Bolin, married a compagna, passed away in 1972.
All right.
My baby sister was Ada Mae Bolin Wilson, and she passed away in 1983.
All right, now that includes your immediate family, and they came to Alpharetta from what area?
Come from Illinois. My grandfather and grandmother come from Illinois in about 1880.
Did they come to Texas, your grandparents?
Yeah, and they come in, 4 couples of them come in covered wagons.
All right, now was this your Bolin grandparent or another grandparent?
My Bolin grandparents.
All right. And as you grew up in Alpharetta, when did you all move to the Grand Prairie area?
Well, my family never did move. I come here in 1924.
That was a good year, wasn't it?
To work for the telephone company.
You came here to work for the telephone company?
Yes. I don't know if you remember Maydell McKelvey and Herbie McKelvey.
All right.
They managed the telephone office, and it was in their home.
All right, now tell me where their home was located in 1924 with these telephone offices in their home.
Where the Lennox Hotel is.
Where the Lennox Hotel is where these people lived, and
I lived with them.
And you lived with them? And were you the only telephone operator?
I was the night operator, and there's one day operator.
Right.
We had about 1,000 telephones, maybe less than 1,000.
In 1924. Tell me the day operator's name. We'd like to have that on our record, if you can remember that one.
Theo Martin was one of them.
All right.
You know,
Yes.
Theo Martin Turner.
Yes.
And Nellie Lott was one.
Good, good.
She kind of filled in. And Irma Badgett, Irma Harrison worked some. They were just kind of extras.
All right. Now, in coming to Grand Prairie, Texas, to work for the telephone company, and you lived with your employers, so to speak, what age were you when you came to Grand Prairie?
I was about 19.
About 19 years old. That was a good year also, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty well.
All right, and when you were 19, what were the activities in town? Did you go to church, or did you have socials that you attended?
Yeah, some church, and met Miss Collins. Miss D.G. Collins had socials. And Burl Davy was a barber downtown, and I had a friend that was a beauty operator. That's who I met when Billy Davy married Burl Davy. And that's how I met my husband.
And that's how you met Cy Paul
That's
Florence.
how I met him. Burl,
all right.
Burl brought him.
Okay. Let's get to a little bit of the data about Cy Paul. Tell me about his parents, where they came from, and et cetera, if you can recall that for me.
Well, his mother come to Mesquite to teach school in about 1880. About 1885, I guess.
And what was her full name?
Melissa K. King. And she taught school a couple of years, and she met Mr. Florence, Simeon Dudley Florence.
In Mesquite?
Uh-huh. And they married in 1887.
1887. Did they marry in Mesquite, Texas?
They married in a carriage in Mesquite, Texas, and their attendants sat on the other side of the carriage.
Well, that was a very exciting, unique wedding, wasn't it?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Wonderful. All right, now, when did Cy Paul Florence come to Grand Prairie, Texas? Do you know that?
Well, they moved 2 or 3 times. They moved out in West Texas, and they moved to Lampasas and lived a long time. In 1918, they moved to Grand Prairie.
1918 is the magic date when they moved to Grand Prairie, Texas. All right, where did they move when they came to Grand Prairie? In what area of our city?
Do you know where Dolph King's home was? Over right across, well, right next to Theo Martin Turner.
Okay. What
Well,
street is that on now?
It's 3rd Street, Southeast 3rd, I think.
Southeast 3rd Street.
Southeast, yeah, 3rd.
Southeast 3rd Street.
They lived over in there, and he started into school in, I guess, in 1918.
And
high
in the
school.
11th grade school that we had up on
Yeah,
College Street. Did he remember to tell you any of his old teachers or anyone that was?
Oh, I've heard him talk about a lot.
Or some of his
Miss
classmates?
Brimer was one of them. Yeah, and I have some pictures of some of his classmates here.
Wonderful. Would you show us those then? What do
Well,
you have?
I have the 1918, 1920 football.
That's the 1918 through 1920 football group team?
Basketball.
Oh, this is basketball. Do you remember who the coach was, please, Pat?
No, I don't. I imagine it's the same as this was the same time. And
All right, let's show the picture then.
Right, this
Also,
is,
would you hold that up right here so that our camera could possibly get a shot of this group? And this is a football team in 1918, 20-ish, and it was coached by whom?
Summerhill. I don't know his first name.
Mr. Summerhill was the coach.
And I think Neville Hall is the only one that's living.
All
and
right,
he's still.
can you point out Neville Hall, because we know he's a good friend of Grand Prairie.
Where is he? Right here.
That's Mr. Neville Hall, right in the center, right
And he's
below
also
the
in the
coach.
football.
And he played basketball and football. Well, we're going to have Neville Hall on this show.
And this is my husband right
this
here.
is Cy Paul Florence right here.
And
Where is he in this
right
one?
here.
Next to the coach, to the left of the coach. Oh, that's wonderful that you would bring this memorabilia with you, Miss Pat. And what is this other photograph that you have here with you?
A picture made down Uncle Jake Swadley's garage. He
This
worked
is
there for a while.
J.C. Swadley
No,
Sr.'s garage.
Yeah, Jake, that's right. And there he is right
Who
there.
is this?
My husband, Paul Florence.
That's Paul Florence
And
there.
this is Jay Swadley, and that's this is one of the other Swadleys.
Wonderful. And that's in the old garage. Is that before Uncle Jake became the fire chief and started working?
Yeah, they just had a volunteer fire department then.
All right. About what year was this in this?
Oh, I imagine 21 or 2. I don't know what time. But anyway, he was volunteer fireman too.
And Cy Paul was a volunteer fireman?
That's right.
Okay. And after he graduated from Grand Prairie High School, what did he do then?
Well, he worked mostly for Ford Motor Company, a whole lot in his younger years.
Now, the Ford Motor Company was over in
Well,
Dallas?
but it was different agencies. Ford agencies is who he
I
worked
see.
for. He didn't work for the plant.
He was selling Ford automobiles.
Parts. He worked in the parts department.
In the parts department. Oh, that is exciting. Did he live near the Grand Prairie area and
Well,
work in those areas?
Yeah, he lived in Grand Prairie.
And where were the nearest Ford parts places from Grand
Arlington,
Prairie?
he worked in Arlington.
Arlington most of the
And
time.
then he went to Dallas and worked for 2 different ones.
And then, where did you all meet and how?
Well, I was working in Billy down at the beauty shop was my friend, and she was going with Burl, so Burl brought Cy along, and we went I don't remember where we went the first time. But we went out, you know, around in the countries and all around looking at everything. And then Sam and Kate Davis were real good friends of ours. We went with them a lot.
Double dated with Sam and Kate Davis.
Uh-huh.
And we have since lost both of those wonderful people.
Yes, and Dewey and Ruby Miller wasn't married. They wasn't married, so we went to their wedding. And of course, Sam was a fisherman.
I see.
We went frog gigging a lot. And we was first day of September, we were going dove hunting. And right over this side of Irving, why they saw some dove and stopped. We were going frog gigging, but they was going to dove hunt on the way. So they got out, and when Si reached back in the back to get his gun, White was pointing to him, and it went off and shot him right through his hand.
Well, that was a unique accident, wasn't it?
Yes.
Scary
And he
today.
lost one finger. They took that finger out all the way down to the,
Well, that
but it
certainly
never did bother, you know.
keep him from working or anything.
No.
Right now, you've told us a little bit about your courtship, but you haven't told us when you all married.
We married in 1929,
In
the beginning of the Depression.
All right.
And he went to work, went back to Lampasas with the Ford Motor Company. And we lived down there until really the Depression got bad in about 1931. We lived down there about 2 years. And then we had to come to the farm where our parents lived. You know, there wasn't any jobs, wasn't anything.
And so you worked on the farm then after you came back from Lampasas,
Yeah,
Texas?
his sister lived out south of Grand Prairie, and they had built a house out there for her mother and daddy. And in the meantime, they'd moved into Grand Prairie and bought them a home. So we moved into the house that they had built for
Now,
them.
Give us the approximate location of that farm
Right where
you
the
worked.
airport is.
Right where the airport
Right where
is,
the
out,
airport
out
is.
near
They
Mayfield,
sold that land for the, no, Arkansas, between Arkansas Lane and,
Great Southwest,
yeah.
in that area. Well, that was a very,
So we lived
what was the
there.
name of that farm?
Jess Martin's.
Jess Martin's Farm.
That's the whole business out there was Martin's.
And how long did you all live on the farm?
Well, we lived there until, really, 43.
Till 1943. And in the meantime, I believe you have a family.
Had a son.
You have a son, and
34.
tell us about when he was born and his name.
He was born in 1934, and Dr. Copeland was the doctor.
And delivered him.
Yes, and his name is Robert Dudley Florence, and he graduated Arlington State College then. It was started at Arlington State College. And he's electronic engineer for a company over in Las Colinas.
All right, and where does he live?
He lives in Irving.
Lives in Irving, and he gets to see his mother every now and then,
Every
doesn't he?
Sunday.
Every
He lost
Sunday.
his wife in 1980. So
Does he have any children?
she had 2 little girls when they married, and he doesn't know the difference. We don't, any of us, but they never did.
They are your grandchildren?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. That is just super, and that's 2 wonderful granddaughters and a son that
That's
you
right.
have. All right, now you've told us a little bit about you all up until that time. Did you ever go back to the telephone company?
No,
Never did.
got married.
You got married, and then you were a homemaker from then on until Cy Paul Florence retired, right?
Well, no, I worked down at the plant all during the war.
All right, now let's give us that little clue in there. When did you go to work at the plant?
Well, it was when war was declared.
1941, 42-ish. And where did you work, on the day shift or the night
I worked
shift?
in the day shift, and I worked in the machine shop. I went to Arlington State College and took a course and worked in the machine shop, same all the time I was down there.
All right, now what did you do in the machine shop?
Made parts.
Made parts. What kind of a machine did you operate? A turret lathe or a milling machine?
A
or
4-spindle
drill press?
drill, and
On a drill press.
that's what I did.
That was a very exciting part of the plant.
And then we quit when my husband was on the fire department down Hensley Field during the war.
Okay. And was he a government employee then as a fireman for the for Hensley Field?
Uh-huh.
Well, when did he retire from that? After the war was
Yeah,
over?
after the war was over.
And during contract termination, after the war was over from North American Aviation, then you came back to be a homemaker.
Ruthie, I got started in antiques.
Then you got started in antiques, and I remember you're working at the Miller Drug Store.
Yeah.
You've got to tell us that part of your
Well,
life.
in 1947, I went to work at Miller Drug, cashier, right there in the front door. All the air conditioning we had was a ceiling fan.
And what was Cy Paul Florence doing during this
Well,
time?
now he went to work for BC Furniture.
BC Furniture. You've just carried us on a wonderful tour.
And then later he worked for Walt after he retired, but he worked part-time, just part-time for.
Walt's Appliance. Wonderful. And after you worked at Miller, when did you leave Miller Drug Company as the cashier?
And it's been about 10 years ago. So no, it's about 76 or 77.
Well, all of those years that you worked at Miller's, during that time, Miller was sort of the congregating place of the city of Grand Prairie. Tell us some of your exciting experience that you had there as the cashier. Did you see everyone in town and keep up with everything?
Knew all the news, knew everything. This one didn't know what the other one did. All the coffee drinkers would come in. I went to work early. I went to work at 7.
7 in the morning.
It opened up at 7.
All right, now you've told us of your interest in antiques. Tell us a little bit about your experience with that. You've done that in between all of this other activity.
Yeah.
How did you
We
get
had a
interested in
shop
that?
in 1962,
All right,
me and Gene Eigelhart.
all right.
And
Where was it located?
Well, first it was up on right across from. Well, you know where Pages live, I guess, the 3rd Street.
Yes, on 3rd Street.
Yeah, and then we moved down on Main Street. Down at, well, where Chapman's Court was. They had a nice big building down there, and we was down there. But that was too confining.
That was too confining, being in a shop all the time. So
one
you
of
did.
us, we liked to go and hunt them, but we'd have to close up. See, when we traveled lots. We traveled in 41 states and into Canada and into Mexico, New Mexico, and Mexico.
Well, tell me this: are you still interested in
I am
antiques?
still buying and selling and trading and swapping.
And you do that from your home as a status citizen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, now you've brought some memorabilia with you. We'd like.
Well, this was one of the first gifts that my husband gave me, and I was real proud of it.
Oh, that is so exquisite. And this is metal,
Needs
isn't
polishing.
it? Can you tell us a little bit about the design on it or anything
No,
particular?
I don't know a thing about the design.
All right. And also you have here a strand of lovely, lovely crystal. What is this?
They're jet. They were Miss Florence's jet beads.
And that's your mother-in-law
Mother-in-law,
that lived in Mesquite, right?
That's right.
How old do you think that these possibly are, Pat?
Well, I don't know, but they're well up there. I imagine 75 or 80 years old at least.
Oh, that is very exciting. Now, we have behind us a lovely quilt. Can you tell us about this?
Yes, my mother made that, and she hadn't quilted it when she died. She made it in 1924.
All right.
And all these white blocks were just real yellow, and I couldn't see having it quilted with all those yellow blocks in it. So I took them all out and replaced them and had it quilted. And she made it in 1924.
That is just lovely. Do you have a pattern, or was this something that she created?
No, it was a pattern. So
You
that's
don't know the
that's an
name of
old pattern. No,
It is an old pattern.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's a very exciting design, and it's so colorful. Do you use this as a coverlet or anything?
Yeah, use it as a coverlet.
All right. Now, you also have some more wonderful things here to talk
this,
about.
I took this to the quilt show over at the library, and they gave me the history of it. They said it was prince feather pattern, and said that this that's faded so used to be a pretty color of green. And said there was no way to clean it without, it was so old, and said it was probably made about 1885.
1885. And where did you get this lovely quilt?
Well, my husband's grandmother made it, and his mother gave it to Bob when he was a little boy, so it's Bob. It belongs to Bob.
I see.
His great-grandmother.
His great-grandmother, and could you remember her name by any chance? And is she the one in Illinois?
Grandma King in Tennessee.
Grandma King in Tennessee. And she made this and quilted it and gave it to your mother-in-law, and your mother-in-law has since given it to your son, right?
That's right.
Oh, that is just lovely. Did they give you any other information about this at the library?
Well, they said it was triple quilted. I hadn't noticed it. See that?
And what does triple quilting mean?
Well, three
to us?
rows. 3 rows.
Instead of one
row, it's 3 rows.
It's
yeah.
3 rows of quilting. That would hold it together almost forever, wouldn't it?
Forever, yeah. But I wished it could be cleaned.
Yes. All right, now, Pat, if we can pull that down to one side, there's something else that you just must show us and tell us a little history about this beautiful piece of crochet.
My mother crocheted this. And I would say about the same time she did that quilt, about 1924.
And is this a complete bedspread?
It'll go on a queen-size bed. It's far spread, and it comes on down. And see, it's made in these little individual blocks. That big.
It's a hexagon pattern, and does it have a name?
Well, just
A kind of
popcorn stitch.
It's a popcorn stitch. Oh, that is very, very heavy. How much do you estimate that this thing might weigh?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to weigh it.
You're going to weigh it, and you're handling of antiques. Have you ever seen anything that's
No,
comparable to this in all of your years?
I never have.
Well, that is a priceless treasure that I know your son will love handing down to one of his daughters, surely. That is just beautiful. Well, Pat, now that we've gotten to the age of 80, I know that you haven't stopped all of these wonderful activities. Why don't you tell us some of the things that you're involved in as a senior citizen here in Grand Prairie at this time?
Well, one thing, there's about 12 with us.
All right.
And we meet once or twice a week and play 42 or 84 or cards
All right.
to pass the time away.
Would you like to name some of these?
Yes, Ostie Burkett is one,
All right.
Mildred Milam is one, Mary Herring's one. Well, let me see. I can't think of the names right now. It just left me. Ruth Blake.
Ruth Blake, good.
And
Well, that sounds like a very exciting, and that's once or twice a week. You play 42.
We try to every.
Where do y'all meet to do
Well,
all
sometimes
of
we go to different ones' houses, and sometimes we go down to the center.
this? Down to the
That's the best
center.
place to down to.
At the Senior Citizen Center, and that's at the Community Center on Church Street.
That's right. And I belong to ARP.
And now tell everyone what ARP means.
AARP.
The American Association of Retired
People.
How often do they meet, Pat?
They meet once a month.
Well, I know you're involved in that because I know you're on the telephone committee. What else do you do with
Well,
ARP?
we just finished a quilt.
Oh,
we're
you
going to
did?
raffle it off, or we're going to take
Donations. for it.
donations and sell tickets on it. Yes.
And you've worked on that.
Yeah, have to put it in the frame, have to take it out, and have to quilt.
And help to quilt.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Is this a sesquicentennial project by any chance?
Well, we started in '85, but it probably end up in '86.
Being an 86 sesquicentennial project.
And I'm an honorary member of the Grand Prairie Garden Club, the first one that Grand Prairie ever had
All right.
since 1970.
And I believe your Grand Prairie Garden Club in the fall of '85 celebrated their 50th anniversary. Is this right?
That's right.
That's good. And you've been a past president of that.
No,
And
never was
Never
president.
were
Everything else.
president. Everything else. What are you this year? Historian or something?
Yeah, historian.
You're a historian with the Garden Club, and I believe in the last couple of years you've helped them with the parade float, and you've ridden in the
we've
parade.
ridden every time that the float's gone down the main street. And I belong to Happy Hour Club, which is 50 years old.
All right, now tell me about the Happy Hour Club. I'm not familiar with that
Well,
one.
we've organized we're the second oldest club in the Grand Prairie.
All
The
right.
Mystic Weaver's the oldest, just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And we meet every 2 weeks and play 42, and we do a lot of good things too besides.
And who's in the happy hour club with you?
Well, let's see. Ocie and Mary Herring and Mildred Milam and Vida Barris and Opal Evans, Ray Speck, Marguerite Allen. We have 12 active members, and we have 2 that are Miss Stufflebeam's one, which of course she's not able to go, and Floyd Wilson is one of our shut-ins.
All right, now, the Mystic Weavers that you mentioned, what do they do? Are they just sort of social like you are?
Yeah, and 42. They play 42.
42 or bridge or whatever?
No, they play 42.
Just strictly into 42. Well.
And I belong to the Eastern Star.
All right. And how many years have you been a member of the Eastern Star?
About 45.
About 45 years.
My husband was a Mason, and he was a charter member of the Thomas B. Hunter Lodge when they organized it out in the South. He belonged to the other one, see, before they organized that one and transferred out there.
Well, back in the days when Dr. Copeland came to deliver your son, was he driving his new car that...
No, that didn't happen until a few years. Bob was about a year and a half old when we gave him the car.
All right. He didn't come to you in a buggy, though, I know that.
No, he didn't come in a buggy. He had a little old car.
Had a little old car, but not the new car that all of you all got together and gave to him.
And he charged $50 for delivery. I stayed at home, of course.
Yes. Well, that is a wonderful, wonderful history of your life, Pat Florence, and for the wonderful memories that you brought back to us from Cy Paul, who was very important, and he was so wonderful to give us...
He belonged to the First Baptist Church for over 60 years when he died.
Over 60 years.
And I have belonged for over 50 now.
Over 50.
And Bob belongs to the Baptist Church.
Well, that's wonderful. We certainly do thank you for being on our show and bringing all of this lovely memorabilia and everything to us. And is there any one thing you'd like to say? We have about 1 more minute before we wrap up our show.
I think that's it. I think I've said enough.
You think?
Too much.
Oh, I think you have been wonderful. It's just been a delight to have you on the show.
This was my grandmother's
watch.
watch.
Let's tell about that watch. Oh, yes, and has a fleur-de-lis design holder on it. And it was your grandmother's watch, and all of the little chain. And what's this little thing that you have?
They call it a slide, so you can adjust it up to your collar or wherever you want.
And that's a slide. Is there any other thing you're wearing that's...
This was my mother-in-law's wedding band, and they made it 1887.
That was used in 1887?
Next year, it'll be 100 years old.
And they passed it on to you. How delightful. Thank you again, Pat Florence.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
And this is Ruthie Jackson, and we're reminding you that history is as we live and do. And thanks for the memories.
Thank you.